very eventful week. Started off with talks about, certain candidates not being present at a town hall meeting that was organized, and what that has now done to the entire race, and just communication and the availability and holding candidates accountable to their promises in the coming days as February 28th, February 2023 elections draw near. We're going to be starting that off as our conversation today. I have Orinio, who's the project lead for Nigeria Youth Futures Fund. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Ebuka. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, accountability is one thing I hold very strongly. Because I feel like that's one of the reasons why we're where we are today. I've always said we've never lacked in promises. We have candidates who say all the right things. That has never been the problem. And we also like to think sometimes that we have people who can execute at least a good number of these promises. But the holding people accountable part of things always seems to be where we fall short. And I always want to know, what should we be doing differently at a time like this? Especially when we now have candidates who are suddenly saying, oh, I'm not really interested in debates, in interviews, in talking to people. I will meet them based on my own plans. How do you feel when you hear things like that?
I think it's rather unfortunate. I think that is another way of us, taking another 5 steps backward. Debates or interactions, as the case may be, media interactions continue to be a tool, a platform to reach Nigerians. And if we have candidates, openly coming out to say that they are not going to honor such engagement, or ascribing to say that because I didn't honor one, I don't want to honor all of them, and things like that, doesn't speak well for the kind of democracy we are trying to model. And just there's nothing good to say about that kind of trend that we begin to set.
Yeah. On the flip side, there are people who also say the Nigerian political scene is not necessarily one that debates work with. Do people really decide who they want to vote for based on a debate? Do you think debates are that important?
So I would say that communication, talking to voters continue to be a tool. Even when we had authoritarian governments, they still understood the power of communication, of communicating to the people, at least communicating your plans. How much more when we are running democracy, when you're supposed to be, pitching your ideas. You've developed, all of the candidates have developed plans, from renewed hope to a new deal to, whatever plans all the other candidates have that they present to Nigerian people. It only makes sense that you provide or you join forums that allow you to further articulate and inspire hope in the electorate. So, but there is a very valid point around how people go to the polls. But that does not necessarily mean that is the best way, And for me, what I believe is actually happening is that the surrogates, the people around the candidates, have realized that it costs them more, to have their candidate demystified in terms of the inadequacies. When you have the stark opposition of saying this compared to that person, it's so the comparison is so stark. So they rather not risk that chance of pitting their candidate against the other candidates, and that's just the obvious no-brainer around that. The inadequacies they're trying to hide by not, honoring debates.
I'll come back to you now, but I think we're joined online now by Reno Duola, who's a human rights advocate. Thanks a lot for joining us, Reno, and welcome back to the show. I want to ask you this because, politics is all about strategy, right? Especially when you're running for office. What really is wrong with a candidate saying, I don't necessarily want to kowtow to what, the media has set out for me. I have my own plan to communicate with people. I have my own way of campaigning. If that works to the candidate's advantage, why is that such a wrong thing?
Thank you very much, Ebuka. And I'll just add something on what, Okpa said, that if to say now you get business, are you not going to interview the people that you're going to hire if you own a business? If now you they look for job, should now you go tell who won't give job, say who won't give you job, say now these people go interview me or not. It's a case of we trying to dribble each other. Why are you afraid of talking to 200 people in a room if you want to be the leader of 200 million people? Now, why are candidates using this kind of strategies? Why are they saying, well, if these strategies work for me, so why are people trying to force me, to go for debate? The problem is that they are not focused on debate. They're not focused on strategies, rather. They are focused on the structure of criminality. They are focused on the structure of 1 bag of rice and 5,000 naira. They are focused on the structure of vote buying, the structure of ethnic and religious politics, the structure of godfatherism, the structure of top to bottom. That's what they are focused on. And so when we ask, is this a wrong way to play politics in the Nigerian context? We are asking, is it wrong to buy votes? Is it wrong to use guns to intimidate people? Is it wrong to use thugs to intimidate people? Is it wrong to use religious and ethnic tensions to win the elections? So for me, every candidate who is focusing on strategies, their own strategies, the structure of criminality, rather than talking to the people, should be voted against, or you should never vote for them. They're buying the future of our generation unborn, and we must not allow it. Especially for our politicians, those who say they have progressive credentials, they believe that they have done so much for the people and that they have the people on their thumb, and that is enough to get them votes, whether they talk to you or not. And so it is very important that every citizen of Nigeria currently must hold these political officials accountable. They are the ones looking for jobs. They are not the ones to tell us how to engage us. We are the ones to tell them this is how you intend to engage the people, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I want to follow up on that now, because we did have the town hall, which started all of this controversy last week, and the candidate of the Labour Party has now said through his spokesman, Dr. Donyo Okupe, that he's not going to participate in any other debates if all the other candidates are not there. A lot of people have said, does that really not defeat the entire purpose? Are you selling yourself, or are you trying to, sell yourself with other people there? Why not still go and show up yourself? Do you think that's a good way to go about it? Is it not just becoming one of the others if it now starts avoiding this?
Yes, I agree with you. You see, the state that we are in today is one that Nigerian politicians want us to be. They don't want Nigerians to care about debates. They need us, just like I said earlier, to care about the 5,000 bag of rice, they want to give us during the elections, which is why Nigerians must not allow this to happen. You see, each and every person who has said that they are not going to engage with the people, Nigerians must make it, how do I say, Nigerians must make it a punitory measure for them. That's to be a punishment for them. Politicians would decide not to speak to us because they know that Nigerians will not vote for them. And so we must not allow that. It's not up to the politicians. It's up to the Nigerians. If Nigerians are ready for accountability, because power belongs to the people and not to any government official, not even to the president. The issue is that Nigerians have given up their power, in exchange for ethnic sentiment, religious sentiment, and all of that. Candidates are not speaking to Nigerians because they are incapable. And like I said, the problem is that you and I have told them that whether they speak to us or not, we will vote for them. So we, the citizens, have encouraged non-accountability. When we look at the data of the politicians that have refused to speak to Nigerians since 1999, you will find out that Nigerians have always voted for them, whether they choose to show up for debate or not. And for me, I feel that if you want to lead the people, it is people who should be speaking in this instance, not the politicians. I already talked about how I do not agree, with the position of politicians abstaining from debate. However, to the people, to Nigerians, if anybody wants to lead us, they must be prepared to be stripped bare, to be thoroughly examined of what they have done, what they can do, and what qualifies them to be in that position. There cannot be two-way about it, right? Speaking to electorate is just as simple as saying, why should Nigerians vote for me? So to you Nigerians, if your candidates can't speak to you now, they will never speak to you. You need to vote against people who refuse to communicate with you. Nobody is forcing these guys to contest, and Nigerians should not make the mistake of believing that any politician is too good for questioning. So Nigerians should ask themselves today how they plan to hold their politicians accountable. Or Shena, like this, we go the day. What is the point of you going to the polling unit, standing under the sun, and voting for someone who never bothered to speak to you or attend debates during campaigns? Thank you. Okay,
I'll come back to you, Renu. Let me get to you now, and I want to find out from you what engaging the Nigerian citizen in an election season looks like to you. I ask this because we've had, like I mentioned, the Labour Party candidate who has now been criticized in some quarters for doing too many interviews. People have said he's overexposed, whatever that means. We have the APC candidate who has been accused of being too strategic. When he's trying to formulate his own narrative internally with his party and his campaign team. We have the PDP candidates who was the first to release his manifesto, and people said, oh, it's not by releasing manifesto. You know, so it's like, what does it look like for you or for the average Nigerian? What should it be? Because, I mean, debates, like I said, not everybody really cares about debates. They matter, of course. I'm a huge fan of debates. But does that really, is that all it takes? You know, what does it look like to you?
Right. I think we should start from the basics. And the basics is that Nigerians are losing hope in the country. I mean, we've just come from doing retreats from across the country. We've been to the entire 6 geopolitical region. And what I would say, talking to young people across the entire country, what stands out is the fact that there is hopelessness in the land. And if we have someone running for president, the very least you can do is inspire. You want to govern in Nigeria, right? The very least you can do right now is inspire hope. You've put your manifesto in a document. The very least you can do is come to the people and address it and inspire that hope of a new Nigeria. What you're trying to realize, you're trying to govern people like Rino said, very spot on. What does it take to talk to a room of 200 people if you want to govern a country of over 200 million? So the very least you can do is inspire hope. For me, I think hope is important, that you believe that this country can work and you're able to articulate the house. You know, how do you want to take us there? How do you want to address the security situation? How do you want to address the problem of unemployment? We want to hear from you. We want to see in your eyes that you actually believe in what you're saying and, you know, put that investment or that stake in you looking forward to the next 4 years. So, and if you're not able to talk to us now that you even need us to cast your vote, how much more are we expecting that you're going to talk to us? It's still that same feudal lordship system that is still being driven. I think there's something in our psyche as a people, even the people to have a responsibility. If these candidates are supposed to be the leading candidates, in an ideal situation, for you not to be attending debates is supposed to make you person on grant as far as election day is concerned. So the politicians have realized what the mistake they are making now is that there is a growing crop. There is a group of Nigerians that are now taking things very seriously who are going to vote based on merit. Nobody ever saw a Peter Obi coming, a candidacy at that coming and generating that kind of currency that he has. I'm not endorsing his candidacy, but he's telling a story. And if the establishment politicians don't see that as something right now to take seriously, then I think that there's something in it for them. There's something, you know, there are some surprises that they have coming up.
But like Rinu said there, I mean, we've gone through so many election cycles where these guys who never show up for debates end up winning, you know, so it looks like it's a recurring theme. So what happens if that happens again? Right, so... I mean, does it really mean that doesn't matter? Because the engagement part of things is really important to me, and accountability on how post-February 2023 or post-May 29th, when the handover happens, how do we then flip that accountability side of things, you know, to holding them? Right.
I think that the documents that they released in the first instance serves as a reference point. But beyond that, I'll give an example. When President Muhammadu Buhari came in, there were certain things that was agreed in the APC manifesto to say, I will do this, I will decentralize. True federalism was one of the key driving agenda. But it's been 8 years. We're wrapping up 8 years of the government, and we have instances where the president has come out to say it was a party that promised. I did not promise. So it means that when President Muhammadu Buhari ran, I have a friend who was working with Punch at the time and followed him throughout the campaign. All of the time, the president spoke to us wasn't more than 18 minutes. All of the times he held the microphone on campaign grounds. What happens is dancing, bring artists to come and dance and all whatnot. So we elected somebody who only spoke to us at a stretch in terms of accumulating all of the speaking time for just 18 minutes. And little wonder that he came into power and we had things like, it was the party that promised, Muhammadu Buhari did not promise this. So we're going to have a similar situation repeat itself again, where we have surrogates coming out to push to say this is what the president wants to do. But we want to hear from your horse. We want to see that you even believe in that. Anybody can gather consultants in a room to write a manifesto. We want to see that you're able to articulate those plans and you're able to directly connect with the people.
All right. Rino, I want to ask you about, you know, because I think people also sort of confuse debates and town halls, and those are two completely different things. And I for one, believe that town halls are probably the most engaging way for politicians to interact with the people, because that's people asking you questions organically, and it doesn't always have to be on TV even. You know, why do you think even that is a problem? And how do Nigerians understand that, you know, the idea of a town hall and sort of utilize that? We still have about over 3 months to go. You know, it's something that we can still utilize, isn't it? Rino, can you hear me?
Yes, I didn't hear the last part. Can you please repeat the last part?
Yeah, I'm just saying, I mean, town halls, I think, are very, very fundamental, you know, much more than even debates for me, because these are literally people speaking to the candidates in an open setting. Doesn't have to be live on TV. And like I said, I think we still have over 3 months to go before the elections. How do we utilize that, you know, that power in town hall settings for the average Nigerian, even the low-income earner, even the non-educated? You know, I feel like town halls are probably the most basic and organic way to engage these citizens, those candidates. How do we utilize that in the coming months?
Okay, thank you. One of the things Nigerians need to know is that before we can say we vote somebody into office and begin to hold that person accountable, because I heard what you said earlier, accountability is really key, especially as we approach elections for Nigerians. Before we can hold anybody we vote accountable or we want to vote accountable, there has to be information. And if we don't have information, we cannot do anything. You see, if we don't hear from these people direct and unfiltered, just like Okma said, there's nothing that we can owe them to. And so if Nigerians knew that, if Nigerian politicians rather knew that people will hold them accountable based on what they said and what they're going to do in office, there'll be greater incentive, to be effective in their office. Now, we're talking about debates, town halls, meetings, and all of that. And I find it very interesting because I think that all these are mediums of communication. We're only talking about this because the standard of leadership in Nigeria is in the dustbin, right? If you hold, just like Okpa said, if you wrote a manifesto and you were actively involved in writing that manifesto rather, what is the big deal in you defending that manifesto as many times as possible, whether it's in a debate or it's in a town hall meeting or it's in the market, you talking to the average Nigerian? Government or governance is a very stressful job. And if you can't be stressed, then you don't deserve the job. I saw one of the leading presidential candidates say they will only choose the medium they want to speak to Nigerians. You see, it is impossible. You can't speak in an echo chamber and expect 200 million Nigerians to make you their leaders. And so I would like to repeat the question I asked earlier again. If Nigeria, and this is to Nigerians, right? If Nigeria was your company, would you give the highest job in that company to someone you have not interviewed? Right. I also very much think that our politicians have made it an idea to begin to hide behind spokesperson, whenever they get into office, as if they did not beg for the most important offices in the country a few months ago. So for me, I think whether town halls or debates, Nigerians currently, must ensure that they are hearing from their own leaders directly for the first time in a long time, and this way we will ensure. Because you can't deny it, I can't deny it that the state of Nigeria today, it's in their state. Let me not just go further. So this way, if we hold them accountable and make sure that they're talking to us directly, we'll be able to provide competent people, to the country, people that we can finally call our own leaders. Thank you.
In one sentence, very quickly, are you excited with the level of engagement you're seeing from Nigerians with politicians leading up to February? Very quickly.
Yes, I am. And I also wanted to add in that the Electoral Act of 2022, it should be pointed out as giving us, the time, ample time for politicians, both citizens, for us to know about them and for them, to be able to tell us what they want to do with their platforms when they are elected. And so any politician that is not taking advantage of this time to tell us their abilities, to explain their manifestos to us and their sincerity of purpose should be voted against. Thank you.
Okay, are you hopeful very quickly?
Yes, I am hopeful, but I believe that there's a lot of room for improvement. The engagement, we need to step it up, especially with young people. Young people need to ask more questions. We need to interact with these candidates. We need to know what exactly it is that they have packed for the over 70 million people, or 70% of the population that accounts for the youth population. So we need more engagement as we build into 2023.
Thank you very much, Okwe. Thank you very much, Rino, for your contributions. Looking forward to the coming months, definitely. And even though Christmas comes in between, but it's going to be a very intense couple of weeks ahead. We'll take a quick break now and be right back. Please don't go away.